this video, we're going to talk about conditioning your brush. And it's important before you paint that you condition your brush, especially if it's a brand new brush. It's going to be stiff and held together by gum arabic. And that's so that when the brush is shipped from the manufacturer, it doesn't get beat up. So it's stiff and it can be loosened and washed out of the brush by putting it in water, shaking it, and then very gently with your fingers between your index finger and thumb, just gently massage it. And I mean gently. If it's a good brush, it'll hold together well, but you're going to want to get that gummy stuff out. So once you get that washed out, you're ready to go. But also before you paint, you are going to want to condition your brush, even if the gum arabic has been washed out. So you'll just rinse your brush and massage it, and then it's ready to go. It looks like I'm pulling really hard on those strands. I am not. I'm very gently pulling on that on the end of the brush, on the tuft. You'll also want to prepare your other brushes too. That means any flat brushes that you may have, and this just right before you paint. I mean, you don't have to begin your day by doing that, but let's say I'm getting ready to use this flat brush here. I'll get it ready to go by dipping it in water and massaging it, and now my bristles are kind of soft and ready to go. One of the critical things you're going to want to understand about watercolor is how saturated your brush should be. Different watercolor techniques will require different saturation levels. Let's say the wet and wet technique is going to require a fully charged brush at times, and then on the other end of the spectrum, the dry brush technique requires a brush that's almost completely dried out. Most watercolor techniques, however, are in between those two saturation levels. What I have found works well is a saturation numbering system. So let's say a fully charged brush, less one drip is a 10, and then 9, 8, then we'll continue our numbering system on a cloth or paper towel. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'll demonstrate the numbering system. So there's our brush, fully loaded, a drip or 2 coming off. So there's our 10, fully loaded brush. You can see the drip. Let's take a couple off. There's 8. That's what an 8 looks like. And then let's take a 7 off. Kind of hard to do while I'm trying to do it in front of the camera. So there's a 5. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's see what we have. It should be a very dry brush. So we're doing the dry brush technique. So the numbering system helps us to communicate and also just to show new students that the brush is really not fully saturated most of the time. And a lot of students get that confused because when you think of watercolor, you think you're using a lot of water. Most of the time you aren't using that much water. Let's do the same with our flat brush. I use flat brush pretty regularly on my backgrounds. So I'll be teaching it. So let's talk about it. There's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, one, and it's almost completely dry, but it still has paint in it, still has pigment in it, so you'll be able to make a mark. Okay, so let's put it to practice here. So there's 10. See what happens with our 10. Very saturated, and it's leaving a bead for us. If that's what you want, that's fine. Okay, let's knock it off a little bit. So there's about a 6, 5, 4. There's a 4, 3, 2. It's hard to do it like this. There's a 2. Now it's fully dried off, but still has a little pigment in there. So there's a true dry brush technique right there. Thank you for watching this video, and we will see you in the next lesson.